The year was 2157. Humans had finally done it. After centuries of dreaming, decades of planning, and years of building, they were ready for their first intergalactic journey. The massive spaceship, aptly named Hope, stood tall and proud at the launch site. Its sleek design hid the immense power within, a combination of advanced propulsion systems and good old human ingenuity. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the helm, her eyes reflecting the stars she'd soon be sailing through. Her crew, a mix of the best and brightest from around the world, buzzed with excitement. They were about to make history. "All systems go," announced the ship's eye, its voice calm and steady. Sarah took a deep breath. "Let's do this," she said, her voice firm with determination. "For humanity." With a thunderous roar, Hope lifted off, leaving Earth behind in a blaze of light and fire. The journey had begun. Weeks passed as Hope traveled through the vast emptiness of space. The crew kept busy, running tests and preparing for any possible encounter. They had no idea what awaited them out there. On the 42nd day of their journey, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Unknown object detected." The eye's voice cut through the noise. Sarah rushed to the bridge, her heart pounding. "On screen," she ordered. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that took everyone's breath away. A massive structure floated in space, its design clearly not of human origin. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. It's a space station," whispered Dr. Amit Patel, the chief scientist. Before anyone could respond, a beam of light engulfed Hope. The crew braced themselves, expecting the worst. But nothing happened. At least, nothing bad. "Captain," called out the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission." It's in English." Sarah's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Put it through," she said, straightening her uniform. A hologram appeared on the bridge. It showed a being that looked almost human, but not quite. Its skin had a bluish tint, and its eyes were just a bit too large. "Greetings, humans," the alien spoke, its voice melodious. "We are the Galactic Council. We've been expecting you." A mix of shock and excitement rippled through the crew. They weren't alone in the universe, and apparently they were expected. The alien, who introduced himself as Ambassador Zix, explained that the Council had been monitoring Earth for centuries. They had watched as humans developed technology and finally reached for the stars. "We welcome you to the galactic community," Zix said with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Sarah, doing her best to hide her awe, responded diplomatically. "We're honored to make your acquaintance, Ambassador. We come in peace and hope to learn from you." Zix nodded. "Of course, we have much to teach you. Your species is still young." There was something in his tone that Sarah didn't like, but she pushed the feeling aside. This was too important to let personal impressions get in the way. The Hope was guided to a docking bay within the massive space station. As the airlock hissed open, Sarah led her team out to meet the council members face to face. The station was a marvel of technology. Holographic displays floated in midair. Beings of various species walked or floated by, and everything seemed to hum with an energy the humans couldn't quite understand. They were led to a grand chamber where representatives from different alien races sat in a semicircle. All eyes were on the humans as they entered. "Welcome," boomed a voice. A tall, regal-looking alien stood. "I am High Counselor Vox. We are pleased to finally meet you in person." Sarah stepped forward. "The pleasure is ours, High Counselor. We're excited to join the galactic community and learn from you all." Vox smiled, but there was a hint of condescension in it. "Yes, you have much to learn. Your technology is quaint." Sarah felt a flicker of annoyance, but kept her diplomatic face on. "We're eager students," she said. The meeting continued, with the council members asking questions about Earth and human technology. With each answer, the aliens seemed to grow more amused. When it came to weapons, Dr. Patel proudly described their latest advancements in firearms and energy weapons. To the human's surprise, this elicited laughter from some of the council members. "You still use projectile weapons?" one alien asked, barely containing his mirth. "How? Primitive." Sarah felt her cheeks burn. She opened her mouth to defend their technology, but Vox raised a hand. Now, he said in a patronizing tone. "Every species starts somewhere. I'm sure humans will catch up, eventually." As the meeting drew to a close, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being looked down upon. The excitement of first contact was slowly being replaced by a determination to prove themselves. Little did the Galactic Council know, they had just lit a fire under humanity. And soon, very soon, they would learn why it was unwise to underestimate the human spirit. The human delegation stood in stunned silence as the Galactic Council members continued to chuckle. Captain Sarah Chen's face was a mask of calm, but inside, she was seething. They had traveled across the stars, full of hope and excitement, only to be laughed at. High Counselor Vox, still wearing that condescending smile, spoke up. "Now let's see these. What did you call them? Guns?" Dr. Amit Patel stepped forward, holding a sleek pistol. It was the latest model, combining traditional ballistics with energy pulse technology. On Earth, it was a marvel of engineering. Here, it seemed to be little more than a toy in the alien's eyes. "This is our XR-7 pulse pistol," Amit explained, his voice steady despite the mocking looks. "It fires both traditional bullets and energy pulses, making it versatile for various combat situations." An alien with tentacles for arms waved dismissively. "Energy pulses. We moved beyond such crude methods millennia ago." Another council member, a being that looked like a walking crystal, chimed in. "And projectiles. Do you still throw rocks at each other too?" The chamber erupted in laughter again. Sarah felt her nails digging into her palms as she clenched her fists. She glanced at her team, seeing the mixture of embarrassment and anger on their faces. Vox raised a hand, silencing the room. "Come now, let's not be too harsh. Remember, these humans are new to the galactic stage. They simply haven't had the time to develop proper weapons." "Proper weapons?" Sarah couldn't hold back anymore. "With all due respect, High Counselor, our weapons are the result of centuries of development and innovation." Vox's smile didn't waver. Of course. And I'm sure they serve you well on your little planet. But out here, in the vastness of space, they're little more than children's toys." To demonstrate, Vox pulled out a small device from his robe. It was no larger than a pen, but when he pointed it at a nearby table, the furniture simply vanished. No sound, no flash, just gone in an instant. "That," Vox said smugly, "is a weapon." The human team stared in awe and a little fear. How could they compete with technology so advanced it seemed like magic? "Now then," Vox continued, his tone becoming more serious, "let's discuss your place in the galactic community. Given your current level of development, we feel it would be best if humans remained as observers for now." Sarah's head snapped up. "Observers? But we came here to join the Galactic Council, to be part of this community." Another council member, a being that looked like a sentient gas cloud, spoke up. "My dear, you simply aren't ready. Your technology is centuries behind. Your understanding of the universe is limited. And frankly, you'd be a liability in any galactic matters." The words stung, but Sarah refused to back down. "We may not have your advanced technology, but humans have other qualities. We're adaptable, resourceful, and determined. We've overcome countless challenges on our world, and we're ready to face the challenges of the galaxy." Her impassioned speech was met with patronizing smiles and a few poorly hidden yawns. Vox shook his head. "Admirable spirit, Captain Chen. But spirit alone isn't enough. The decision stands. Humans will be granted observer status, nothing more. You may visit Council space, trade with approved species, but you will have no say in galactic affairs." Sarah opened her mouth to protest further, but Dr. Patel placed a hand on her arm. shaking his head slightly. This wasn't a battle they could win. Not here, not now. "We understand," Sarah said finally, the words tasting bitter in her mouth. "We'll accept observer status for now." "Excellent," Vox said, clapping his hands together. "Now, why don't we give you a tour of our wonderful station? I'm sure you'll find it educational." As they were led out of the chamber, Sarah fell back to walk beside Amit. "This isn't over," she whispered. "They may mock us now, but they have no idea what humans are capable of." Amit nodded, a determined glint in his eyes. "We'll show them, Captain. One day, they'll regret underestimating us." Little did the Galactic Council know, their mockery had planted a seed of determination that would grow into something they couldn't possibly imagine. The humans walked through the station, their heads held high, already planning how they would prove their worth to the galaxy. The Council had made a grave mistake. They had judged humans by their technology alone, overlooking the indomitable spirit that had taken them to the stars in the first place. It was a mistake they would soon come to regret. 6 months had passed since the humans' first contact with the Galactic Council. The crew of the Hope had returned to Earth, bringing with them tales of advanced civilizations and the Council's dismissive attitude. While many on Earth were disheartened by the news, others saw it as a challenge. Humanity had never been one to back down easily. Captain Sarah Chen stood before the United Earth Council, giving her report on the latest developments in galactic politics. The room was tense, filled with the planet's most powerful leaders. "The situation is becoming more volatile," Sarah explained, her voice steady but concerned. "An alien civilization known as the Kroktar has been making aggressive moves towards Council space. They're not part of the Galactic Council and seem intent on challenging its authority." Murmurs filled the room. One of the counselors spoke up. "And how is the Council responding to this threat?" Sarah's expression turned grim. "Not well. Despite their advanced technology, the Council species have lived in peace for so long that they're ill-prepared for conflict. They're frightened, and their responses have been mostly diplomatic so far." "Diplomatic?" Another counselor scoffed. "Against an aggressive species?" Sarah nodded. "The Council believes their technology will protect them. They think the Kroktar will back down once they realize how advanced the Council is." The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. Finally, the head of the United Earth Council spoke. "Captain Chen, what do you recommend?" Sarah took a deep breath. "I believe we should offer our assistance to the Galactic Council. We may not have their level of technology, but we have experience with conflict. Our military strategies and tactics could be valuable." The suggestion was met with mixed reactions. Some nodded in agreement, while others looked skeptical. "They mocked us, treated us like children," one counselor argued. "Why should we help them?" "Because," Sarah replied firmly, "this isn't just about the Council. If the Kroktar defeat them, what's to stop them from coming after us next? We need to think about the bigger picture." After hours of debate, the United Earth Council agreed to Sarah's proposal. They would offer assistance to the Galactic Council, whether they wanted it or not. Weeks later, Sarah found herself back on the massive space station, facing the Galactic Council once again. This time, the atmosphere was different. Gone were the condescending smiles and mocking laughter. The council members looked worried, their earlier arrogance replaced by barely concealed fear. High Counselor Vox addressed the gathered representatives. "The Kroktar have crossed into Council space. They've already attacked 2 outpost planets. Our defensive systems, they weren't as effective as we hoped." Sarah stepped forward. "Counselors, Earth is ready to offer its assistance. We may not have your advanced technology, but we have extensive experience in warfare and strategy." Vox's expression was a mix of desperation and lingering pride. "Captain Chen, while we appreciate the offer, I'm not sure how your limited capabilities could help in this situation." Sarah refused to be deterred. "With all due respect, Counselor, sometimes the old ways are effective precisely because they're unexpected. The Kroktar might be prepared for your energy weapons and force fields, but are they ready for more traditional warfare? A council member that looked like a sentient plant rustled its leaves nervously. What exactly are you proposing, Captain? Let us send a small team to one of your threatened outposts, Sarah suggested. We can work alongside your forces, sharing our tactical knowledge and maybe even introducing some of our weapon systems. The council members exchanged uncertain glances. Vox spoke up, his voice lacking its usual confidence. Captain Chen, I appreciate your offer, but we cannot risk the lives of our citizens on untested human tactics. Sarah felt her frustration rising. With all due respect, Counselor, your current tactics aren't working. The Kroktar are advancing, and your people are dying. What do you have to lose by letting us help? A tense silence fell over the chamber. The council members whispered among themselves, clearly torn. Sarah stood her ground, her gaze steady and determined. Finally, Vox spoke. Very well, Captain Chen. We will allow a small human team to assist at Outpost Zeta 9. But understand this, if your tactics fail, if more lives are lost because of your intervention, Earth will bear the consequences. Sarah nodded solemnly. We understand the risks, Counselor, and we accept them. Humanity stands ready to defend not just our world, but all worlds against this threat. As Sarah left the chamber to prepare her team, she couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and apprehension. This was humanity's chance to prove itself to the galaxy. But more than that, it was a chance to stand against a common enemy, to show that despite their differences, humans could be valuable allies. Little did the Galactic Council know, they were about to witness firsthand the indomitable spirit of humanity and the surprising effectiveness of those primitive weapons they had so casually dismissed. The space around Outpost Zeta 9 was eerily quiet. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the human battleship, defiant, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the surrounding star system. Beside her, Admiral Zorn of the Galactic Council forces fidgeted nervously. Are you sure your sensors are working correctly, Captain? Zorn asked, his large eyes blinking rapidly. Our advanced systems don't detect any Kroktar ships. Sarah nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. They're working just fine. Admiral, sometimes the oldest tricks are the best. We're using passive sensors only. Active scans might give away our position. Zorn looked unconvinced, but said nothing more. The Council's faith in their technology was hard to shake. Suddenly, alarms blared across the ship. Multiple contacts, shouted the sensor officer. Kroktar fleet dropping out of FTL. The holographic display lit up with dozens of red dots representing enemy ships. Sarah's eyes narrowed as she assessed the situation. They're using a pincer movement, she muttered. Classic. Admiral Zorn's tentacles waved in agitation. Impossible. How did they get so close without our long-range sensors detecting them? They must have found a way to mask their approach, Sarah replied, her mind already racing through possible strategies. Admiral, we need to act fast. Order your ships to form a defensive perimeter around the outpost. Zorn hesitated for a moment, then nodded. As he relayed the orders, Sarah turned to her own crew. Prepare for battle. All hands to stations, and get me a direct line to the ground forces. The next few minutes were a flurry of activity as both human and council ships moved into position. The Kroktar fleet advanced relentlessly, their ships sleek and menacing. They're powering up their weapons, called out the tactical officer. Sarah gripped the arms of her command chair. Steady, hold position. The first volley from the Kroktar ships lit up space. To everyone's shock, the advanced shields of the council ships flickered and failed under the assault. Impossible, Zorn cried out. Our shields should have held. Sarah's jaw tightened. They've adapted their weapons to your defenses. Admiral, we need to switch tactics. Have your ships fall back to secondary positions. As the council ships retreated, the human vessels moved forward. Fire at will, Sarah commanded. The space around them erupted in a dazzling display of firepower. Traditional missiles, rail guns, and energy weapons all fired in concert. The Kroktar, prepared for the Council's energy-based defenses, found themselves struggling against the varied assault. On the ground, the situation was equally chaotic. The Kroktar had landed troops, their strange, insectoid forms swarming towards the outpost's defenses. Colonel Miguel Ramirez, leader of the human ground forces, watched the advance with a grim smile. "All right, folks," he said into his comm, "remember your training. Let's show these aliens what Earth can do." As the Kroktar approached, they were met not with energy barriers or force fields, but with good old-fashioned trenches, barbed wire, and minefields. Their advance slowed, confusion evident in their movements. Then the human forces opened fire. The sound of gunfire, something not heard in galactic warfare for millennia, echoed across the battlefield. Bullets tore through the Kroktar ranks, their armor designed to deflect energy weapons proving less effective against kinetic projectiles. Back in space, the battle raged on. Sarah's ship rocked as it took a hit. "Damage report." "Minor damage to the outer hull," came the reply. "Our armor is holding." Sarah nodded, a fierce pride swelling in her chest. Human ships, built to withstand the rigors of space and combat, were proving their worth. Admiral Zorn watched in amazement as the human ships continued to fight, taking hits that would have crippled Council vessels. How are your ships still functional?" he asked, awe evident in his voice. "Redundant systems, compartmentalization, and good old-fashioned toughness," Sarah replied, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. "We built our ships expecting to take hits." As the battle progressed, it became clear that the combined forces of humans and the Council were holding their own. The Kroktar, faced with unfamiliar tactics and unexpectedly resilient opponents, began to falter. On the ground, Colonel Ramirez's forces had pushed the Kroktar back, reclaiming lost ground. The alien invaders, for the first time, seemed uncertain. Back on the Defiant, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "Request reinforcements. This isn't over yet, but we've given them one hell of a bloody nose." As the message was sent, Sarah turned to Admiral Zorn. The alien's expression was a mix of shock, relief, and newfound respect. "It seems," Zorn said slowly, "that we may have underestimated you humans." Sarah nodded, her expression serious. "This is just the beginning, Admiral. The real fight is yet to come, but together, I think we stand a chance." As the first wave of the Kroktar invasion was repelled, word spread quickly through the Galactic Council. Humanity, once mocked and dismissed, had proven themselves to be formidable allies. The tide was turning, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Council's Grand Chamber, once a place of calm deliberation, now buzzed with frantic activity. Holograms flickered, showing battles raging across dozens of star systems. The Kroktar invasion had escalated, pushing deeper into Council space with each passing day. High Councilor Vox, his usual composure shattered, addressed the emergency session. "Our defenses are failing. The Kroktar have adapted to our technology faster than we anticipated. We need—" He was cut off as the chamber doors burst open. Captain Sarah Chen strode in, her uniform battle-worn, but her eyes blazing with determination. Behind her came Colonel Ramirez and a team of human soldiers, their presence causing a stir among the alien counselors. "Counselors," Sarah announced, her voice carrying across the room, "Earth stands ready to commit its full forces to this war." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Vox, a mix of relief and lingering pride on his face, spoke up. "Captain Chen, while we appreciate your offer, this conflict has grown beyond—" "With all due respect, Counselor," Sarah interrupted, "it's grown beyond your ability to handle alone. But together, we have a chance." She gestured, and one of her soldiers activated a holographic display. It showed human ships, thousands of them, emerging from jump points across the galaxy. The human fleet has mobilized, Sarah explained. We're deploying to key systems as we speak, but we need the Council's cooperation to make this work. Admiral Zorn, now a staunch advocate for human involvement, stepped forward. Counselors, I've seen these humans fight. Their tactics, their weapons, they're unlike anything the Kroktar have faced. We need them. The council chamber erupted in debate. Some were eager for human help, while others remained skeptical. Sarah waited patiently, her team standing tall beside her. Finally, Vox raised a hand for silence. Very well, Captain Chen. The Galactic Council formally requests Earth's assistance in this conflict. What do you propose? Sarah's lips curved into a small smile. A joint operation. Your technology combined with our tactics and weapons. But for this to work, we need full integration of our forces. She turned to Colonel Ramirez, who stepped forward with a large case. Opening it, he revealed an assortment of human weapons, rifles, pistols, even a few archaic-looking blade weapons. We'll arm your troops with these, Sarah explained. They're effective against the Kroktar in ways your energy weapons aren't. We'll also need to retrofit some of your ships with our weapon systems. The council members looked at the weapons with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. One of them, a crystalline being, spoke up. These seem primitive. Are you certain they'll be effective? Colonel Ramirez grinned. Trust me, they pack quite a punch. How about a demonstration? With the council's wary agreement, they moved to a nearby training area. Ramirez set up a target, a piece of Kroktar armor they'd recovered from the battlefield. He picked up a standard-issue human rifle, took aim, and fired. The sound of gunfire, so foreign in the advanced council station, echoed loudly. When the smoke cleared, the Kroktar armor had a clean hole punched through it. The council members stared in shock. Vox, his voice barely a whisper, said, Our energy weapons barely scratched that armor. Sarah nodded. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Now shall we begin our counteroffensive? Over the next few days, human forces integrated with the Council's defenses. Human soldiers trained alien troops in the use of primitive firearms. Engineers worked round the clock to outfit Council ships with rail guns and missile launchers. On the front lines, the effect was immediate and dramatic. Kroktar forces, used to facing energy weapons and force fields, found themselves up against an entirely different kind of warfare. In one key battle, a joint human council squad faced off against a Kroktar assault team. The aliens charged forward, their personal shields shimmering, confident in their protection. Then the humans opened fire. Bullets tore through the air, puncturing shields designed to deflect energy blasts. The Kroktar faltered, unused to the feeling of physical projectiles slamming into them. A human soldier lobbed a grenade, its explosion sending shrapnel flying in all directions. The Kroktar, their tactics based on absorbing energy blasts, had no defense against the spray of metal fragments. In space, the battles were equally shocking to the invaders. Human ships, retrofitted with Council technology, proved to be formidable opponents. They combined the advanced shields and propulsion of Council vessels with the raw firepower and durability of Earth ships. Missile barrages overwhelmed Kroktar point defense systems. Rail guns punched through hulls that could have shrugged off energy weapon hits, and human pilots, with their aggressive, unpredictable tactics, kept the enemy off balance. As reports of victories began to pour in, the mood in the council chamber shifted. The once skeptical aliens now looked at their human allies with newfound respect and even a touch of awe. Sarah, standing before the council once more, allowed herself a moment of pride. This is just the beginning, she said. Together, we'll push the Kroktar back and secure peace for the galaxy. Vox nodded, humility clear in his voice. Captain Chen, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I thank you and all of humanity. We were wrong to dismiss you. Your people have proven to be the allies we needed most in our darkest hour. As the joint human council forces prepared for their next big offensive, One thing was clear: the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. The vast expanse of space lit up with explosions as the combined human and Galactic Council fleet engaged the Kroktar Armada. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship Humanity's Hope, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "All ships, execute maneuver Delta 7, she commanded, her voice calm despite the chaos around her. The human ships broke formation, scattering in seemingly random directions. The Kroktar, confused by this unconventional tactic, hesitated. It was all the opening the fleet needed. "Now!" Sarah shouted. Suddenly, the scattered human ships turned as one, unleashing a devastating barrage of missiles and rail gunfire. The Kroktar ships, their defenses oriented towards the Council vessels, were caught off guard. Admiral Zorn, watching from a nearby Council ship, shook his head in amazement. "Incredible," he muttered. "Such a simple tactic, yet so effective." On the ground, the story was much the same. Colonel Ramirez led a mixed group of human and Council soldiers against a Kroktar stronghold. The alien invaders had fortified their position, expecting an assault with energy weapons. Instead, they faced a barrage of old-fashioned artillery. Shells rained down, shaking the earth and creating chaos among the Kroktar ranks. "Forward!" Ramirez yelled, leading the charge. Human soldiers advanced alongside their alien allies, rifles blazing. The Kroktar, their formations broken by the artillery, struggled to mount an effective defense. A young Council soldier, wielding a human assault rifle, turned to Ramirez with wide eyes. "This is exhilarating," he exclaimed, firing another burst at the retreating Kroktar. Ramirez grinned. "Welcome to the human way of war, kid." As the battle raged on, news of victories began to pour in from across the galaxy. Human ingenuity combined with Council technology was proving to be an unbeatable combination. In the Galactic Council chamber, High Counselor Vox addressed the assembled representatives, his tone a mix of relief and awe. "Reports are coming in from all fronts," he announced. "The Kroktar are in retreat. For the first time since this war began, we are pushing them back." Cheers erupted from the gathered aliens. Vox raised a hand for silence. "We owe this turn of tide to our human allies," he continued. "Their courage, their innovative tactics, and yes, even their primitive weapons have saved us all." The chamber doors opened, and Captain Chen entered, followed by her senior staff. The Council members rose as one, applauding the human heroes. Sarah stepped forward, her face serious despite the warm welcome. "Thank you, Councilors. But our work is not done. The Kroktar are on the run, yes, but they're not defeated. We need to press our advantage." She activated a holographic display, showing a map of Kroktar-controlled space. "We've identified their main supply routes and key strongholds. I propose a series of coordinated strikes to cut off their resources and isolate their forces." The Council members listened intently as Sarah outlined her plan. Gone was the skepticism and condescension of their first meeting. Now, they hung on her every word. "It's risky," one counselor noted. "We'll be stretching our forces thin." Sarah nodded. "Yes, but the Kroktar won't expect it. They're used to fighting defensive wars against technologically superior foes. They've never faced an enemy willing to take the fight to them like this." Admiral Zorn stepped forward. "I've seen the humans in action. If Captain Chen says this plan will work, I believe her." Vox looked around the chamber, seeing nods of agreement. "Very well," he said. "Captain Chen, you have the full support of the Galactic Council. Lead our forces as you see fit." As the meeting adjourned, Sarah found herself surrounded by Council members, all eager to shake her hand or offer their thanks. It was a far cry from the dismissive treatment she'd received on her first visit. Later, as she prepared to return to her ship, Sarah was approached by a group of young Council cadets. They looked at her with a mixture of awe and excitement. "Captain Chen," one of them said, We were wondering if there might be openings for exchange officers on human ships." Sarah smiled, remembering her own early days in space. "I think we can arrange something," she said. "There's a lot we can learn from each other." As she boarded her shuttle, Sarah felt a sense of pride. Humanity had not only proven its worth, but had also opened up new avenues of cooperation and understanding. The Kroktar had unknowingly done what years of peaceful contact couldn't. They had united the galaxy. And at the heart of this new alliance stood humanity, once mocked, now respected and admired. As her shuttle took off, Sarah looked out at the stars. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was leading the way. The tables had truly turned, and the future looked brighter than ever. The grand hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with excitement. Representatives from every corner of the galaxy had gathered for a historic moment. At the center of it all stood Captain Sarah Chen, now Admiral Chen, her uniform adorned with medals from a dozen alien worlds. High Counselor Vox stepped up to the podium, raising his hands for silence. "Fellow beings of the galaxy," he began, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Today marks the end of the Kroktar War and the beginning of a new era." A cheer went up from the assembled crowd. Vox continued, "Thanks to the bravery and ingenuity of our human allies, the Kroktar threat has been neutralized. Their leadership has surrendered unconditionally." All eyes turned to Sarah as Vox gestured for her to join him. "Admiral Chen," he said, "on behalf of the Galactic Council and all peaceful species, we thank you and the people of Earth. Your primitive weapons and bold strategies saved us all." Sarah stepped forward, her face solemn but her eyes shining with pride. "Thank you, High Counselor. But the victory belongs to all of us. Humans, Council species, and even former enemies who chose to stand with us in the end. Together, we forged a stronger galaxy." As Sarah spoke, holographic displays around the chamber showed scenes from across the stars. Human soldiers teaching alien troops hand-to-hand combat. Council scientists marveling at the simplicity and effectiveness of human projectile weapons. Former Kroktar warriors, now allies, learning to pilot human-designed ships. "The war showed us that diversity is our greatest strength," Sarah continued. "Different technologies, different strategies, different ways of thinking. When combined, they make us unbeatable." Vox nodded in agreement. "And that is why, today, we're not just celebrating victory. We're ushering in a new galactic order." A murmur of anticipation ran through the crowd. Vox raised his hand, and a large hologram appeared above the chamber. It showed a new organizational structure for the Galactic Council, with Earth prominently featured. "Humanity will no longer be mere observers," Vox announced. "They will have a full seat on the Council, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails." The chamber erupted in applause. Sarah felt a lump in her throat as she saw her home planet, once dismissed as a backwater world, now recognized as a major galactic power. But Vox wasn't finished. "Furthermore, we're establishing new departments within the Council. A joint military command, blending the best of human and alien tactics. A technology exchange program, to ensure we all benefit from each other's advancements. And a cultural initiative, to foster understanding and cooperation among all species." As Vox outlined the new plans, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. From being mocked for their primitive weapons to reshaping the very structure of galactic society. It was almost too much to believe. After the ceremony, Sarah found herself surrounded by a mix of human and alien well-wishers. A young Kroktar, part of the peacekeeping force, approached her nervously. "Admiral Chen," he said, his mandibles clicking softly. I wanted to thank you. Your mercy towards my people, even after all we did, it taught us the true meaning of strength." Sarah smiled, placing a hand on the alien's shoulder. "That's what humanity is about. We fight hard, but we also believe in second chances." As the celebrations continued, Sarah slipped away to a quiet balcony overlooking the bustling spaceport. Ships of all designs, sleek council vessels, sturdy human cruisers, and even a few retrofitted Kroktar ships moved about in harmony. Admiral Zorn joined her, his tentacles waving gently in contentment. "Quite a view, isn't it?" he said. Sarah nodded. "A few years ago, I never could have imagined this." Zorn chuckled. "Neither could we. You know, there's talk of recreating some of your human historical battles as training exercises. Something about a place called Normandy." Sarah laughed. "I think we can arrange that. Just wait until you see what we can do with paintball guns." As they watched the galactic traffic, Sarah felt a sense of immense pride and responsibility. Humanity had proven itself, yes, but the real work was just beginning. There would be challenges ahead, new threats to face, new mysteries to unravel. But now, they wouldn't face them alone. Humans, with their primitive weapons and bold ideas, had found their place among the stars. They had turned mockery into respect, skepticism into admiration. As the first stars began to twinkle in the alien sky, Sarah Chen smiled. The galaxy had underestimated humanity once. It was a mistake no one would make again. The future was bright, and humanity was ready to lead the way.